Thank you. The presentation, so please wait for me a little. Okay. We have covered hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, then muscles, sinews, bones, and bone marrow. Here it is. So these are 9 parts, and let's call them layers. The Buddha doesn't distinguish them as layers, but it's how I try to help you to remember them. This succession is exactly as given by the Buddha, but again, the Buddha doesn't say, oh, these are 9 layers. But otherwise, everything is the same thing. Now we will be moving on to the internal organs. Internal organs are organs inside the body, and we will be going through very interesting points, so get ready for a huge overload of information. It's good if you can write down notes. This meeting is recorded. You can, of course, watch it again as many times as you want and see if that helps you understand. You will, again, not meditate on repulsiveness of the body today, not even tomorrow, but from our next upcoming meeting, you will. So not this meeting. Next meeting that's coming tomorrow, I will give you the last portion of the instruction, and tomorrow from our meeting onwards, you will be meditating on repulsiveness of the body. Until then, not at all. Now you need to concentrate on loving kindness. I'm providing you with this information on this practice of the body so that we do not spend 4 hours, 6 hours, one huge long lecture. Instead, we do little by little, and I expect that you write down notes so that when you get to this meditation practice, you will easily look at your notes and follow. So the first portion that we will be looking at are kidneys. The Buddha speaks about kidneys. The Buddha does not mention gallbladder, let alone prostate. But we will include them all in one organ, okay? The kidneys, they have so-called pyramids, they have so-called globes, and in them, the blood is filtered from water, salt, and dirt, and then most of that, that is salt and dirt, will gradually move with a little bit of water to the bladder and then out of the body. We'll be looking at one video from Design Mate. This video is should be available in YouTube, but you will be watching a slightly edited version so that we account for the copyright. Now here you see the system in the Bauman's capsule. The water is coming and it's filtered. It's filtered from salts, water, and waste. And as it gradually moves through these tubules, some of the water returns back to the body. Now, as for males, because males do not have separate how to say that, output for sperm and urine, they have, instead of that, a switch. That switch is called prostate, and prostate then decides whether escapes sperm or whether escapes urine. This prostate sometimes gets cancer, and sometimes it doesn't work the way it should, and that is then experienced as a huge problems with urinating, so-called incontinence. Ladies do not have that problem. Ladies have their birth canal and urinary opening separately, but of course, ladies have problem with their sometimes problem with their reproductive system, most famously cancer. So here we see it from front, and we will jump right away into the circulation system. So we have here lungs, we have here heart, And okay, so first I want to tell you, why do we actually breathe? We breathe because if we don't breathe, we die. Well, that you already know. But how do we die? If you do not breathe, your cells do not get energy. When you breathe, glucose and oxygen, that means the breath and the sugar and breath, they come to your cells. They enter your cells by means of blood. And in these cells, the glucose and oxygen produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Energy is used by the cells for their life, for their function. Water is water. It's used wherever it's needed. And carbon dioxide rejoins back the blood, and we then breathe it out. If the cells do not get enough oxygen, they cannot produce energy. If they do not get energy, they die. In order that we get oxygen, we need to somehow receive it into the body. And we do that by breathing in. And then that oxygen joins blood in the lungs. The blood then travels from the lungs together with the oxygen all over the body to distribute it to the cells. Lungs, however, sometimes undergo diseases. These are lungs of a smoker, of somebody who smokes cigarettes. We have left and right lungs. One has 3 lobes, one has 2 lobes, like portions. Why one has 3, why one has 2? It seems there is no answer for that. But we know, or the theory is that they have lobes so that if one portion doesn't work anymore, at least the other portion will work. Here we see the breathing system. So we first breathe in, and then the breath goes through trachea, and then it enters the lungs. Between the lungs, we have heart. The heart is rather by the left side, but half of the heart is under the sternum and by the right side as well. Due to the different size of the liver, left and right side, this is actually right and that one is left. So here the lungs may have different, look slightly differently because they have something, they're sitting on something a little different. Now in the lungs, we find so-called alveoli. These alveoli are small chambers where the air comes, and from these chambers, the air then joins the blood vessels. We'll be again looking at a video from Design Mate, which you can see, which you can hopefully find in YouTube, and we will skip some portions. So the air enters the alveoli. In the alveoli, the air then gradually slips through the cracks and joins the blood. Slips through the cracks, it joins the blood. In the meantime, the carbon dioxide that travels with the blood will slip through cracks into the chamber. And we then breathe it in and breathe it out. Okay. So here I'm showing you the smooth muscle. We were talking about smooth muscle when we discussed the 3 kinds of muscles, and smooth muscle can be found in our veins, arteries, can be found in our intestines. Now, the smooth muscle in these veins, arteries, has a very special function. We can, or not we, that's the problem. These veins, arteries, they can make their walls thin and they can make their walls thick. According to the need of blood in the body, the walls of our veins and arteries become thicker or thinner. We don't even know that, but the brain decides that through electric impulses. and accordingly we get more blood faster or less blood. These veins, arteries have quite a complicated walls, and also they have very interesting doors. So the door has a special feature that the blood that goes one direction, it can pass through, but if there was any blood that wanted to go back, it cannot. Now we can look at the heart. So the lungs, they send the oxygenated blood. They send the oxygenated blood to the left atrium, and then from the left atrium, it moves to the left left. What is that? Left ventricle, and then it moves all the way throughout the body. As for the blood that's not oxygenated, that has no more oxygen, returns back. It goes to the right atrium, then to the right ventricle, and then it goes towards the lungs. This is video made by me, by the way, so we are free here. But the point here is that in the right atrium, we get this rather ear-shaped pouch, which helps more, receive more of the blood and provide more pressure, so that the blood circulation goes smoothly. Here we again see the right atrium with its ear-shaped pouch. And here we will be looking at how the heart, this is the heart muscle. You see, again, one of the three kinds of muscles we are covering. So this heart muscle is dependent on electric signals sent from the brain, and thereby it can beat. This is the way how it looks like in reality. But one thing I found interesting, and maybe some of you may know, I would like to know whether this is front or back. Anybody has an idea? Or maybe could it be the side, looking from the side into the body? Because if it is front, where then that means the sternum and all of the ribs would be removed, right? If it is from the back, well, then the spine would be removed, right? So I'm wondering, how was this video obtained? Anybody has an idea?
Bhante, I think I can see the diaphragm at the bottom. So looks to be like it's a kind of not extreme front, but slightly leftish side. The video has been taken, but strange how come the ribs are not been seen.
I do not
This
actually see the
diaphragm at the
diaphragm.
front is a diaphragm. I think.
You mean this?
Where your
This
cursor is? Yes. Yeah.
This is diaphragm. Okay.
At the bottom. At the bottom.
Oh, do you think this is the diaphragm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Diaphragm is under the heart. Okay. Thank you. Interesting. Then we have, okay, so now we are looking from the back, and we can see here are the lungs. Then here is the liver, this is the stomach, bile. This is the we'll be looking at it a little later anyway. That's the pancreas. And then we have there, here's spleen. Let's move on to the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system consists most importantly from thymus, that's the yellow portion here, and spleen over there. The Buddha did not teach thymus. And therefore, when we meditate and we consider the nature of the thymus, we consider it together with, when we consider the nature of spleen, we consider it together with the thymus. Okay, so you meditate on spleen, but you actually mean spleen and thymus. What is their nature? They're changing, dangerous, out of control. And the point here is that they can cause disease, and we don't decide about what will happen with them in the future. What thymus does, it produces. Okay, thymus produces white blood cells. What spleen does, it filters. Spleen filters the blood. Okay, and old red blood cells are recycled there, including platelets, as well as white blood cells. So thymus produces, spleen filters, and recycles. Now we will be looking at spleen. So this is the spleen from different angles. These are the lymphs which escape from the spleen. And all of the body has a special so-called lymphatic system. It's a kind of a white liquid. We will be looking at it tomorrow. And this white liquid is traveling around the body and providing fighters against bacteria and viruses not desired by the body. Now we will be looking at the balancing system of the body. So the body needs to balance several things, such as temperature, sugar, and what else? Yes, temperature, sugar, and water as well. Temperature, sugar, water need to be kept in balance. The different parts of the body maintain the balance. If they fail to do their work, well, then we come into imbalance, and that is disease. Now we are looking at the so-called endocrine system. Endocrine system produces hormones. So lymphatic system produces white blood cells, or the lymph, which fights bacteria, viruses. Endocrine system produces hormones. Hormones produces certain potential of the body. So these hormones can produce, for example, energy. Okay, hormones decide whether we are awake or asleep. Hormones decide whether we are aroused sexually or not. Hormones decide whether we get more calcium or less calcium, whether we are satiated by food or whether we are hungry. So the hormones do that. Of course, we can do a lot with our minds, but the hormones have a great, a great influence on our desires, and our moods, and our experience. Again, with our mind, we can do a lot, but for that, the mind needs to be well trained. Now, the system of these hormones, so-called endocrine system, consists of, let's say, mainly 5 parts. So now here you see 4. The 5th is the brain. So here we see thyroid and parathyroid. Thyroid, we have it in the neck. Thyroid has the function of controlling our sleep. We see, produces proteins and controls. I see, and not sleep, but yes, actually does. Controls bodily use of energy, produces proteins, controls sensitivity to hormones. Thyroid also has a small embedded organelles, which are called parathyroid, and they have different function. Namely, they produce hormones which regulate calcium within the blood, and thus affect the strength of the bones. Then we have suprarenal glands, which produce hormones that control our sexual urge, and then pancreas, which helps with digestion, but also pancreas, you see, produces insulin, which regulates sugar in the body. Now let's look at the brain a little. We will be talking more about brain tomorrow. So we are now covering only the parts related to the endocrine system in the body. In the brain, we have hypothalamus. Think of hypothalamus as a throne on which the thalamus is sitting. So here we have the thalamus, but right below the thalamus, there is a flat slab like tissue and or structure, and that flat slab-like structure is called hypothalamus. Hypo means under, thalamus is thalamus, so under the thalamus. Hypothalamus maintains homeostasis. That means produces hormones that help regulate temperature, sugar, and mood. Then we are talking about pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is in the front. It's a little pea-sized structure that is responsible for producing various hormones that affect specific parts of the body. Its function is to control other endocrine glands, other glands that produces hormones. Hence, the pituitary gland is called the master gland. Then we have pineal gland. Pineal gland is the little tail of thalamus over there. Pineal gland has the function of making us asleep and awake through producing the hormone melatonin. Now we're looking at the body again from the back. This is the pancreas. Now here we have the bile. This is the liver. Here we have the stomach. Now here we have the spleen. And here we have the intestines. We are looking at the same thing, but from front. Again, this is the liver, stomach. We have the pancreas hiding behind, likewise the bile, and the spleen as well. So we are now going to look at the liver. The Buddha taught liver separately, so liver is very important for us. The Buddha did not teach anything about thyroid, anything about pancreas, anything about adrenal glands. Okay, but the Buddha taught. Let me see. So. We include all of this thyroid, parathyroid, and the adrenal glands, and even sexual organs to kidneys. So when you consider kidneys together with prostate in men, with all parts of the sexual organs, with adrenal glands, thyroid, and parathyroid. So let's look at the digestive system, and we're moving towards the end. Oh, time-wise is not so bad. So we start our digestion in the mouth. Okay, when you eat the food, if you meditate on repulsiveness of the food, that's what you could notice. Actually, already as it enters the mouth, it started. The production of feces has started. But don't do that yet. I would suggest that you do it only during the 30-day retreat, only upon discussion with the teacher. So far, whenever you eat, please observe only the bodily parts. I don't want anyone to vomit or has digestion problems. Okay, so then we have epiglottis. Epiglottis is a little like a switch. It switches between the trachea and the esophagus. We need esophagus for food, trachea for breathing. Now, when we eat something and the switch is switched to open the trachea for breath, and the food enters the breathing pipe, the trachea, well, then we may get. What do we get? We may get it stuck, and we may have problems with breathing, and we may even die. So we need to be very careful and never ever talk or do anything during food and then eating. Now, this is the epiglottis. In children, it is actually sometimes visible like this. This is a healthy epiglottis. That's the switch. We are again looking at the pipes. So we have here trachea, and here we have the esophagus. Now we will be looking at the stomach. So this is the stomach. Stomach needs blood, just like all of the other organs. And when we eat, to make the to dissolve the food and make it into small portions, which gradually become nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and so on. The stomach is churning the food in this way. Churning, pressing. Now we are looking at the belly, but without the liver and without the stomach, because we want to expose the bile. Now we are looking at the gallbladder, which stores bile. Bile is produced by the liver, and then it is stored in a gallbladder. And from gallbladder, bile is then inserted into the small intestine to help with digestion. So bile is what helps you with digestion. And we're looking at it more realistically. Now here we have the pancreas. We have the pancreatic duct, which guides the pancreatic juice from pancreas to the small intestine for digestion. Likewise, we have here the gallbladder, which sends the bile to the small intestine again for digestion. This is the liver. Now we are going to look at, we're finishing, we're very fast. I'm so happy today. So we are now looking at the intestines. So we have small intestine, large intestine. Now we're looking at the version from front. This is from side. This is from behind. Notice the interesting curvature in the anus. Now let's look at the way how do the nutrients actually enter the blood so that they can be then used by the different cells wherever the body needs it. In the walls of our intestines, they are lined by so-called hair, in Latin villi, and these hair on their surface contain yet more hair, which is much smaller. This hair increase the surface so that more and more nutrients can enter the bloodstream. Now we can see how the nutrients enter the bloodstream through these small hair and help of chemical reactions. Now we are looking at the so-called cecum. Cecum is different, cecum and appendix. So we are looking at appendix. Actually, cecum is for animals. So cecum stores material. Actually, it's both cecum and appendix is the same thing, but you would probably use cecum more for animals, appendix for humans. Scientists do not agree on what's this cecum appendix for in humans, although they agree that it stores a certain food material that cannot be easily broke down, and bacteria there break it down so that the animals can digest that food. In us, there's a theory that it contains certain additional bacteria, so-called gut bacteria, which help digest food. Now we have this bacteria and we need it so that we digest the food. But what if we get fever? What if that bacteria in the intestines die? Well, then there's a theory that the bacteria in this cecum or appendix will reproduce to re-enter the large intestine and help us further in digestion. And finally, feces. We distinguish two kinds of feces. The Buddha at least does that. So we have the so-called undigested food, which we count from the mouth all the way until the stomach, and then digested food from the small intestine all the way until the anus. I will send to you the list of these parts of the body, including what each of them includes as parts, so that you can write it down on a paper. During meditation on the body, because you need to know all of the 32 parts of the body perfectly without fail, and it needs to be smooth, I allow you to use a little cheat sheet. Your cheat sheet is ethical because it's allowed, and you put it like on a paper. You write it on a paper. You can put it by the side of yourself. So by one side you have clock, by the other one you have this paper, and whenever you want, you can look at the paper, so you follow that order perfectly and those parts perfectly as well. Yes, I think it would be good to recapitulate a little bit. Let me see. So let us review a little bit. So we already know hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, and then muscles, sinews, bones, bone marrow. That was pretty clear from yesterday. Today we learned about kidneys, about lungs, about heart, and then the spleen, then the various adrenal glands, then the brain a little. Then we had their liver. Liver can bring a lot of diseases. You can think of the diseases as two: one that is caused by ourselves, and one that is caused by foreign bodies. And in this case, I mean virus. So we can eat a lot of things that have fat. We can cover the liver in fat, overload it, and therefore the liver can get a disease. Or we do not eat fat, but we get infected by certain bacteria or viruses, and they can destroy the liver. All right, so that was liver. Then it was the stomach. The Buddha did not teach stomach, but we take it as part of the small intestine. So we distinguish small intestine and large intestine. And then we have the two kinds of feces, that's undigested food and digested food. Anybody has any question, anything you'd like to say about this? No question. Very well. So I would like to ask Monsieur Namyang to provide the 8 precepts, please. And everybody else to unmute. Yamahang vadami tang vadetha.
Amma Bandi,
Aham bhante.
Aham Bandi,
Tisaranena saha.
Tisaranina Saha,
Attanga samannagatam.
Atanga Samanagadam,
Uposatha silang.
Ubosatha Silam,
Dhammang yajami.
Tamaya Jami,
Anugraham katva.
Anukankatwa,
Silang detha me bhante.
Ilandeta Me Bandi,
Anukampang ubadaya.
Anukamba Ubadaya,
Tutiyampi aham bhante.
Tutiyambi Aham Bandi,
Tisaranena saha.
Tisaranina Saha,
Attanga samannagatam.
Atanga Samanagadam,
Uposatha silang.
Ubosatha Silam,
Dhammang yajami.
Tamaya Jami,
Anugraham katva.
Anukankatwa,
Silang detha me bhante.
Ilandeta Me Bandi,
Anukampang ubadaya.
Anukamba Ubadaya,
Tatiyampi aham bhante.
Atiyami Aham Bandi,
Tisaranena saha.
Tisaranina Saha,
Attanga samannagatam.
Atanga Samanagadam,
Uposatha silang.
Ubosatha Silam,
Dhammang yajami.
Tamaya Jami,
Anugraham katva.
Nukhankatwa,
Silang detha me bhante.
Silandita Me Bandi,
Anukampang ubadaya.
Anukamba Ubadaya.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami.
Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammam saranam gacchāmi, Sangham saranam gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchāmi.
Saranaagamanang paripunnang
Amavante.
panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Pāṇātipada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adena Dana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Surameraya
Sura Miraya
majja
Majja
pamadatthana
Pamadatthana
veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana
Vikala Bhojana
veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Nachagita
Nachagita
vadita
Varita
visukadasana
Visugadasana
malagandha
Malagantha
vilepana
Vilebana
dharanamandana
Dharana Mandana
vibhusanathana
Vibhusanathana
veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Uchchasayana
Ujjasayana
mahasayana
Mahasayana
veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Isaranena saddhing attanga samanagatang uposatha silang dhammang sadhukang surakkitang katva appamadena sampadetha.
Amavande.
May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Mandy.